So Crohn's disease, it's a digestive order, which for me, it's in my small intestine. It kind of varies from one person to another. For me, Crohn's is in my small intestine, and so it causes me to be in severe pain. It really is based on a lot of things that I eat tend to trigger it. It also causes me to just double over in pain, and a lot of times the only way I can deal with it is to go lay down and go to sleep.
I'm Tim LaValle, and my wife Crystal and I moved here in 2006, actually fall of 2005, but we started her business in 2006. It was a 3D, 4D ultrasound business, and she's a certified sonographer, and this is something she wanted to do, and she was willing to take that leap of faith and go out on her own and away from the hospitals and start a business.
In October of 2011, Philip decided that he wanted to give his dad one of his kidneys. So we went in for the kidney transplant, which went very well. Mike came home, and then he began to not feel well, and his abdomen area began to swell. So we went back to the doctor and found out he had an infection.
My biggest struggle in life has always been pornography. It kind of came to a head where I knew something had to change about 4 years into our marriage, 3 years into our marriage. There were a lot of nights when she would just lay awake at night, and I would just lay awake at night, and there seemed like there was a tension, just kind of something not right.
When I was about 13, I found out that my father was involved with another woman, and it hit hard. A few years before that, my dad had been a youth minister for 10 years. He had been this wonderful person in my life and this amazing spiritual guide. My mom was always by my side. When we found out that he was involved with her, it just it hurt a lot.
The most difficult time I in this whole journey that we went through was, whenever we were about $160,000 in debt, and we knew that it was unsustainable. We couldn't make the payments.
I've just had to come to grips with that that's a part of my life because there's not a cure. It's something that I'm always going to deal with at this point. And while that's not the most fun thing to think about, it's just the way my life is.
After he went in on the day after Thanksgiving of 2011 with hopes that it was just a temporary thing and that he wouldn't have to stay long, and he was there from the day after Thanksgiving until the 8th day of June 2012. He never left the hospital.
I remember just praying to God because I would think about what would happen. What if this didn't work? What if they had separated? What if he had left? And that's when I just went to God, because even though I'd been praying for all these months, I just went to God and I said, I don't know what to do. And I want to give it all to you because I don't know what to do. And I just cried. And in that desperate moment, I was still hurt and I was still scared, but I realized I couldn't do anything else but trust God.
She would ask the question, and I hated it. I hated when she asked the question, how I was doing, if I was struggling. But one of the times in particular, January of 2007, she asked that question, and it just seemed like one too many times that I had to answer, yes, I'm still struggling with it, yes, or no, nothing has gotten any better. And so I knew that I needed to make a change.
I actually, went to taking 2 jobs. I delivered pizzas at night just so we could, help get groceries or whatever we needed because all of our money was being consumed with the debt. So one Sunday morning, we're sitting there in church, and we are at that point. We're at that point where in the next month we've got to make a decision. And I was holding the bulletin in my hand. I looked down at the front cover, and it said Dave Ramsey, Financial Peace University, and it gave the dates, and it was all in the middle of this critical time for us. And I leaned over to my wife, and I kind of whispered to her. I said, hey, I think this is something we need to probably look at doing. And she agreed. She, at that point, anything to, help this business.
Going there every day, I could see him wasting away. I could see his body deteriorating. I could see the look in his eye of I'm so tired. And that was so hard for me because Mike was a fighter.
At Thanksgiving, I was asked to share with the group about what I was thankful for. I had an email about it, and I just avoided it for days because I felt like I am not thankful for anything right now. My health is horrible. I'm dealing with not being able to expand my family the way I want to, and I just really couldn't figure out what I was thankful for. And I avoided it, and it just kept coming back to my mind, and I kept feeling this pull of, Shelly, you need to do this. You need to talk about what you're thankful for, and you need to talk about what's going on in your life right now. And so I did, and I wrote a little thing, and I wasn't even sure that I believed it. And that night I read it, and I cried, and I shared for the first time what I was really going through. And I felt like, I'm gonna cry right now. I felt like that was so freeing to just finally say, this is real, this is how I feel, and it is not fun, and I'm not enjoying this, and I'm really having a hard time being thankful for anything.
That's when I felt his presence the most, because I was relying on him, and he showed me that he works through other people, because I owe my family to him, but he gave it to me by working through extended family, aunts and uncles, my grandparents on both sides, church family. I grew up going to the same camp every year, and those people who have been my mentors since I was a little girl were the people that guided my dad and my mom back to where they needed to be.
Got a call. It was 7 o'clock in the morning. They called and said, you better come to the hospital. And he said, Miss Maple, God came and he took Mike home. And you know, when he told me that, it was like peace. Peace settled. It was like I had mixed emotions, like, no, I'm not ready for this. But then a peace just settled in. He's home. He's not in any pain. And this is where he was looking forward to going anyway.
In September of 2009, that was the day that we decided to, hand our burden over to God and let him guide us through all this. And it was tough. But, that day came, August of 2012, 3 years to the day. Basically, we made our last payment, $184,000 in 3 years. It sounds, unbelievable, but with God's grace, we made it. We made it through, and it's been a beautiful thing.
I started to feel free when I could openly tell others about my story, because God had changed a story of horror and tragedy into a story of healing and of mercy and of forgiveness.
The bottom line that I've learned in my experience is it's probably not going to happen your way. It's going to happen if you do it God's way. And God's way is it's scary, it's intimidating, it requires a lot of trust in people, in Him. But ultimately, we're trying to find victory through Him.
I know that at some point in my life, I'm going to look back and I'm going to say, this is what God did through that moment. And this is how it was used to glorify Him.
They have helped me see. They have opened my eyes where I see I don't have to fear. I am free from that fear of being alone because they are with me 24/7. And that's such a relief. There are days I can really feel His presence with me. So I'm free from fear of being alone, and that is such a wonderful freedom.
Thou who changest not, abide with